Hello everyone, a very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Prakash Srivastav and I am presenting you this particular crash course on manufacturing, and today we are going to start with a very important topic again, the brand new topic, that is casting. So metal casting के बारे में आज हम पढ़ना चालू करेंगे. What is metal casting? What are the different topics that are important from the GATE perspective? And whenever we get time, today or tomorrow, we will be solving questions from metal casting as well. तो आपका ये एक all in all, it will be around 10 hours of small course on, or you can say 8 hours of small course on casting. Include as much as possible. I'll try to include these questions. ठीक है, जितना ज्यादा से ज्यादा हो सकेगा वो क्वेश्चंस में इंक्लूड करने की कोशिश करूंगा, बट द मेन फोकस विल बी ऑन द एंटायर सब्जेक्ट कवरेज ऑफ मेटल कास्टिंग. वी ऑल नो दैट प्रोडक्शन इज अ सब्जेक्ट व्हिच इज हैविंग अ वेरी हाई वेटेज. वी ऑल नो दैट कि प्रोडक्शन का वेटेज बहुत ज्यादा होता है. सो दैट इज व्हाई अगर आप क्रैश कोर्स में प्रोडक्शन अच्छे से कवर अप कर पाते हैं, देन इट वुड बी रियली बेनिफिशियल फॉर यू. तो लेट मी स्टार्ट विद दिस पर्टिकुलर कोर्स. लेट मी स्टार्ट विद दिस पर्टिकुलर वीडियो. इट्स क्वाइट कोल्ड आउट हियर इन लाइक माय होम टाउन टुडे. दैट्स व्हाई ऑल दिस टोपा इज देयर. ठीक है, टोपा में थोड़ा कंफर्टेबल लगता है मुझे, बस बात ये है. ठीक है, let me check that everything is working fine or not. चलो, cool enough. So क्या करना था? Okay, so by the time I'll upload slides, you can have a look at this video. That is the intro video. अब intro video क्या है? It's like a, you can say today we are at like today is 29th and today we are going to have this Unacademy Combat Part 2. Unacademy Combat Part 2 है आज, and I'll be like just showing you a video. Have a look at it and let me know that if you are having any queries. We'll start our lecture with this video.
It's time to experience something glorious. Unacademy Combat. Compete, crack, conquer.
A challenging GATE contest engineered to give you an experience like none other.
Where you put your knowledge to test
and battle it out with the best.
To bring out the best in you, Unacademy Combat is the most competitive, gamified contest for GATE till date, with the best of the questions by best educators.
with detailed video solutions from top educators right after each contest.
Combat live with peers to get real-time rankings and win big.
Participate in every contest to improve your ratings.
Challenging contests every fortnight or alternate Sunday. Live ranking after every question. Big rewards for top rankers. Your passion to crack GATE deserves this. Your hard work towards your dream deserves this. Fuel your inner fire for the ultimate GATE challenge. Unacademy Combat. Register now.
एक्सटेंशन बॉक्स को क्या कर दूं, इसमें लगा दो, पकड़ के खड़े हो जाओ. वहां पे ले सकते हो. Okay, so I hope that you have seen this particular video. From today, 28th of like from yesterday, a new batch in mechanical has started. So if you want to join the Unacademy Plus platform, you can join using the code crack10. ठीक है, so let me just upload the slides and let us start with today's lecture. Hello everyone, my name is Prakash Srivastav. I have secured All India third rank in GATE 2016. Then I took admission into IIT Bombay and finally completed my masters from NITI Mumbai. From past 3 years, I am teaching on Unacademy with an experience of teaching approximately 23,000 plus students. Thank you all for your love and support. The subjects that I deal with is industrial engineering, manufacturing technology and engineering mathematics. And if you want to join Unacademy Plus, you can use the code crack10 to get flat 10% discount. Now sir, what is Unacademy Plus? So there is a paid initiative by Unacademy. There is a paid initiative by Unacademy. That is, the first initiative is Unacademy Plus. The second initiative is Iconic. So Unacademy Plus is live classes will be there. Crash courses will be conducted to revise what you have learned in live class. Then rank improvement batch will be there to basically practice question on the topics that you have learned in live class. Once you are ready, you will be giving weekly tests and monitor your growth and competition. And if you are having any doubt in anything, you can always reach out to us every third lecture. Okay? The sessions will be conducted both in English and Hindi. Whereas when you talk about Iconic subscription, you would be getting all the benefits of Plus subscription. You would be getting all the benefits of Plus subscription. Along with that, you would be getting a personal coach. You would be getting a personal coach, and that is one-on-one guidance will be provided to you throughout your Iconic subscription with Unacademy. Okay? Then study planner will be given, that is what to study, when to study, and how much to study. Preparatory study material will be given to you, that is you don't have to go here and there on Telegram channels and the free website to download the material. Booster session will be provided, that is the continuous motivation and zeal to crack the examination will be maintained. We will try to maintain that. And yes, my personal favorite, the test analysis will be provided to you, that is personalized based on your weak areas, your strong areas, what you need to cover, what you need not to cover. Now sir, what are the charges for this? If you talk about the charges, it is 27,225 rupees for 1 month, 1 year. It is 34,650 rupees for 18 months and 39,600 rupees for 24 months. Okay. At the same time, what are the charges for Iconic subscription? It is 45,225 rupees for 1 year and 66,600 rupees for 2 years. 66,600 rupees for 2 years. Okay. Chalo. Now, from yesterday itself, a new batch is launched. If you want to join it on Unacademy Plus, ठीक है, Unacademy Plus पे ये batch launch हुआ है. If you want to join that, you can use the code crack10. You can use the code crack10. You can use the code crack10. And yes, today is 29th and you are going to have Unacademy Combat Part 2 today. ठीक है, Part 2. So I hope that you will be enjoying it. I hope that you will be enjoying it. आगे चलते हैं. ठीक है. Now let me start with the video. So let me give you an introduction to the casting. See, this is a crash course. I cannot give one-on-one, point-to-point discussion on casting and forming and forging. Many people will ask me, sir, आपने forging में embossing, coining नहीं कराया? देखो, these are the theoretical topics. And theoretically topics कराने के लिए जाएं, तो ये किताब, this is just one part. This is just one part. And you require at least 300 hours to read this book. At least I need 300 hours to teach this book. One book, 600 hours for 600-700 hours of entire production. वो नहीं हो सकता ना. So that is why very selected topics which are having highest amount of probability to be asked in the examination are discussed. Now casting होता क्या है? तो देखो, it is the basic process where suppose you need to make this product. Suppose this is the shape of the product you want. Suppose this is the shape of the product you want. What you will do? You will make it from wood. You will make it from wood or wax, which is easy to cast. ठीक है, आप डायरेक्टली मेटल का तो नहीं बना सकते. You cannot apply force on the metal here and there. इतना बड़ा मेटल का जंक है and you are applying. No. You will, what you will do? You will made it up. You will make a pattern. You will make a pattern. You will make a pattern. That is, it is made up of wood, or you can say it is made up of wax and other material. We will see. Now, you will take a mold and try to fit it up in this mold. ठीक है. For example, this is the part. This is the part. Now, here you will be having the sand. Here you will be having the sand. Here everywhere you will be having the sand. So, a wooden pattern a wooden pattern is there, a wooden pattern is there, ठीक है, and you make it up, ठीक है, that is why you arranged sand all across it, you arrange sand all across it, you arrange this sand all across it, उसके चारों तरफ आपने सैंड जमा कर दी. Now what you will do, एक काम करते हैं, इस प्रोसेस को थोड़ा सा सिंपलर बना देते हैं, ठीक है, I will remove this part, ठीक है, तो थोड़ा इजी हो जाएगा. इज इट क्लियर? थोड़ा इजी हो जाएगा समझने में भी और ड्रॉ करने में भी. सो दैट इज व्हाई दिस इज योर पैटर्न. सपोज दिस इज द शेप you want to make. Now what you will do, you will take a sand mold and fix this pattern in it, and you fix this pattern in it. This is your pattern. You fix a pattern into the sand mold. You fix a pattern into the sand mold. You fix a pattern into the sand mold. You will allow it for some time and then you take out this pattern. Allow sand around pattern to settle. Allow the sand around pattern to settle. Allow the sand around pattern to settle. ठीक है. Then the third step is you will remove this pattern. You will remove this pattern. And now what you will do, you will pour in the liquid metal into this. जो आपका पैटर्न था ना, your pattern is removed. Now you have filled it with iron. Iron is of green color, that's why I am using green color here. Suppose से iron से आपने इसको भर दिया. You will now, how you will fill it up? Because if you directly pour it in, don't you think it will splash and it might erode some of the material from here? So that is why we will use a system known as gating system for this purpose. We will use a gating system for this purpose. ठीक है, we will be using a system that is to supply the molten metal. Here you will be having the molten metal. Here you will be having the molten metal. You will pour in the molten metal, and such that this molten metal slowly enters into the mold cavity. If you want this material to slowly enter into the mold cavity, you are using a system that is known as gating system. After this thing, what will happen? After some time, then you will allow it to solidify. You will allow it to solidify. Pattern is removed and liquid material is poured. And liquid material is poured. ठीक है, ये पूरी प्रोसेस हुई. After this, you will allow it to solidify. And then break the mold to get the final casting. Break the mold. अगर break की जरूरत नहीं है तो open the mold. Break / open the mold to get final casting. To get final casting. And here is your final casting. Here is your final casting. This is your final casted product. 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 ठीक है, this is the entire process of casting. Now जो ये casted product है ना, if you are breaking this casted product into two parts, that is metal cutting. If you are applying force to change its shape, that is metal forming. And if you are welding two such pieces, if you are making this, if you are joining such casted product, that is metal joining. Is it clear? And now once these things are done, you will obviously check that whether the dimension is correct or not, that is metrology. And when everything becomes computerized, it is same. This is your entire production in front of you. And entire production में the biggest pillar, the first pillar is casting. वो मैंने आपके स्क्रीन पे लिखा. So what all things you need to understand? पैटर्न, कितने टाइप के पैटर्न होते हैं? What are the different properties in a pattern? How they are, and what are the different properties in a pattern? What are the different pattern materials? All these things you need to understand. ठीक है, सबसे पहला पैटर्न रहता है. दूसरा, this is molding sand. Sand जो यूज हो रही है, तो second thing is you need to understand is molding sand. ये कैसे बनाते हैं? That is its preparation. Preparation. Second, molding sand कैसे बनाते हैं? What are the ingredients? What are the types of molding sand? What are the types of molding sand? ठीक है, molding sand के types क्या होते हैं? ठीक है, what are the properties that a sand require? हाँ, रुको, just let me check that everything is working fine or not. Good afternoon everyone. Good afternoon everyone. मैंने chat नहीं देखी थी. I hope that like I am audible and visible, crystal clearly audible and visible. I hope that like I am audible and visible. चलो ठीक है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. Now very very important. अब आपको मोल्डिंग सैंड के बारे में पढ़ना पड़ेगा ना, बिल्कुल पढ़ना पड़ेगा. This is your molding sand. Then third system is you have to understand about gating system. Third thing you need to understand about gating system. ठीक है, इसके बाद भी allow it to solidify. Then you have to understand about solidification टाइम, कि कितना टाइम लगता है सॉलिडिफाई होने में, कितना टाइम लगता है सॉलिडिफाई होने में. एंड फाइनली यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड अबाउट व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट डिफेक्ट्स इन कास्टिंग, कि पूरी प्रोसेस में दिक्कत कहाँ है. ठीक है, अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट यू ऑल्सो हैव टू डिस्कस अबाउट, ये तो एक टाइप हुआ, देयर आर मल्टीपल टाइप्स ऑफ कास्टिंग. Types of casting you need to discuss. Is it clear? अब एक छोटा सा पार्ट में बता दूं. In this you need to understand about design of gating system. You have to very importantly discuss riser design under gating system. ठीक है, solidification time में you need to discuss about what? Now in riser design you have various formulas. ठीक है, shrinkage volume method. ठीक है, shrinkage volume method. Then you have to discuss about shrinkage volume method के अलावा आपको क्या डिस्कस करना है? That there are other method as well. Like you can say freezing ratio method. ठीक है, बहुत सारे और भी मेथड रहते हैं. नेवल रिसर्च मेथड, केन्स मेथड बोलते हैं इसको, वैसे फ्रीजिंग रेशियो नहीं, केन्स मेथड लिख लो. केन्स मेथड, नेवल रिसर्च मेथड. सो दीज आर द मेथड दैट वी विल सी फॉर राइजर डिजाइन. ठीक है, सॉलिडिफिकेशन टाइम में सॉलिडिफिकेशन फ्रंट, चिल्स, पैडिंग. And here in molding sand you have to understand about core prints. So this is your entire syllabus for casting. that we are going to cover. ये आपका पूरा syllabus है casting का. This is the diagrammatical representation of casting, that what all things are required. And obviously if you understand this process, you should know I need to study about pattern, what are the, how the pattern is made, what are the different types of pattern. I have to study about the molding sand, that जो sand वाला part रहता है उसमें क्या क्या चीजें हैं. Then you need to understand about the gating system. This is your gating system. This is your gating system. Then you have to understand about gating system के बाद riser design within gating system is very important. Then you have to allow it to solidify. So then what is the time that I require for solidifying, or what is the time that I have to leave for solidification? Solidification time कितना होता है? And finally you need to understand about what are the different types of casting, what are the defects. So this is the everything is written in front of your screen. Everything is written in front of your screen. आपकी स्क्रीन पे सब कुछ लिखा हुआ है, ठीक है, आपकी स्क्रीन पे सब कुछ लिखा हुआ है. तो वी विल स्टार्ट विद पैटर्न फर्स्ट. आप ये नोट डाउन कर लो, वैसे यू नोट डाउन दिस थिंग एंड देन वी विल स्टार्ट विद पैटर्न, एंड देन वी विल स्टार्ट विद पैटर्न. देखो आप इसमें से टाइप्स ऑफ पैटर्न तो मैं नहीं कराऊंगा, उसका सबसे बड़ा रीजन इट इज हाईली थ्योरेटिकल एंड यू कैन से कंप्लीटली इररिलेवेंट फ्रॉम द गेट पर्सपेक्टिव, बिकॉज कभी क्वेश्चन इस पे आया नहीं है और ये बहुत डिटेल में बहुत सारे होते हैं. लाइक देयर आर लाइक यू कैन से 10 or 11 types of pattern. So you can just go through them through any standard book, or I will be providing you the link to the books. PN राव हो गया, PC शर्मा हो गया, आप कोई भी बुक यूज करके इस चीज को सॉल्व कर सकते हो. ठीक है, जल्दी से इसको नोट डाउन करो, then we will be moving forward. जल्दी से इसको स्टार्ट करो, then we will be moving forward. And give the admin patterns. ये डायग्राम बना लो यार, डायग्राम में बहुत जरूरी चीज होती है. देन वी विल स्टार्ट विद पैटर्न डिजाइन. लो 2 मिनट का समय मैं दे रहा हूं, यू राइट दिस थिंग, यू राइट दिस थिंग. फटाफट. इफ यू हैव नॉट लाइक द वीडियो, डू लाइक द वीडियो. अगर आपने वीडियो अभी तक लाइक नहीं किया तो डू लाइक द वीडियो राइट नाउ, राइट नाउ, अभी लाइक करिए वीडियो को. जल्दी से करो. हाँ, बाकी बाय द टाइम आई विल ओपन माय नोट्स आल्सो. पैटर्न वैटर्न तो क्लियर हो गया आपको. पैटर्न समझ में आ गया. इट इज इजी टू मेक, दैट्स व्हाई आई एम मेकिंग इट फ्रॉम वुड. देखो पैटर्न में सबसे पहले डेफिनेशन लिखो. पैटर्न में सबसे पहले डेफिनेशन लिखो. इन पैटर्न यू फर्स्ट नीड टू राइट डाउन द डेफिनेशन. इन पैटर्न यू फर्स्ट नीड टू राइट डाउन डेफिनेशन. पैटर्न होता क्या है? तो देखो पैटर्न का जो शेप है ना वो फाइनल कास्टिंग के शेप से सिमिलर होता है, बट पैटर्न इज मेड अप ऑफ फ्रॉम वुड, जेल, wax, which is easy to make. Why we are using? Because easily you can cut the wood and give it that particular shape that you want, or you can easily cut the, you can say जो wax material होता है ना, you can easily give shape to the wax material. You can easily give shape to the wax material. That is why pattern का जो material होता है ना वो यही होता है. तो लिखो what do you mean by pattern? It is the replica of the final casting. It is the replica of the final casting. It is the replica of the final casting to be produced. It is the replica of the final casting to be produced with some modification. With some modification. This modification are in form of allowances. This modification are in form of allowances, allowances जो पैटर्न रहता है ना, पैटर्न इज सिमिलर टू दैट ऑफ फाइनल कास्टिंग, बट थोड़े से चेंजेस या मॉडिफिकेशन रहते हैं. ठीक है, with some modification. Modification in form of allowances. अब अलाउंसेस क्या होते हैं? देखो, पैटर्न और फाइनल कास्टिंग में देयर इज अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन द पैटर्न, द शेप ऑफ द पैटर्न एंड फाइनल कास्टिंग. वी आर ट्राइंग टू मेक इट रिप्लिका, बट क्या होता है दैट सपोज फॉर एग्जांपल यू इंसर्टेड द पैटर्न इन दिस स्टेज, ठीक है, देन यू टेक आउट द पैटर्न and filled it with liquid metal. Now this liquid metal will contract. But the final casting that you are getting, मैं आपको बता देता हूँ फाइनल कास्टिंग कैसी दिखेगी. This will be the shape of final casting. You know why? Because it will contract. Is it clear? So what should be my procedure? That my pattern size should be big, so the cavity formed is big, and when the contraction happens, this big cavity, I am filling the liquid in this big cavity, then it will contract and commit to its original shape. Is it clear? So that is why कुछ change करना पड़ेगा आपको, पैटर्न ज्यादा बड़ा बनाना पड़ेगा. You have to make big pattern of bigger size. Why you need to make pattern of bigger size? So that the cavity will be of bigger size, and when the liquid metal is poured into that cavity, it will contract. Obviously it will contract, it is the property of the material. So when it will contract, it will come to the actual size we want. But if you make the cavity of actual size, it will contract and become smaller, like in this case. ठीक है, तो ये modification हो गया कि that you need to make a pattern bigger. ठीक है, तो सिमिलरली देयर आर वेरियस टाइप ऑफ अलाउंसेस. तो कौन कौन से अलाउंस होते हैं वो देखो. द फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इज श्रिंकेज अलाउंस, जो मैंने भी आपको बताया. सेकंड, श्रिंकेज अलाउंस. Shrinkage allowance So guys, actually some work is going on यहाँ पे electricity का, so that is why there will be some issue with this part, so I hope that you will manage it. I hope that you can manage. ठीक है, तो सबसे पहला हो गया आपका shrinkage allowance, which is very very important, very important. ठीक है, shrinkage allowance सबसे ज्यादा important allowance होता है. Then you need to give draft allowance, machining allowance, shake allowance, and distortion allowance. These are the various allowances, and now we will start with the first and foremost, the most important shrinkage allowance. तो अब हम shrinkage allowance से चालू करेंगे. Shrinkage का मतलब आपको पता चल गया, that is the casting is basically it shrinks when the temperature is decreasing. तो give the heading shrinkage allowance. Shrinkage allowance. ठीक है, तो देखो क्या होता है। Whenever heat is lost or gained, there is change in shape of final casting। जैसे ही हीट आ रही है या जा रही है, इन दैट सिनेरियो आपका फाइनल कास्टिंग के शेप पे इंपैक्ट पड़ेगा। आइदर इट विल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट और इट विल एक्सपैंड, आइदर इट विल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट और इट विल एक्सपैंड। एक काम करते हैं, 5 मिनट का ब्रेक ले लेते हैं। तब तक यहाँ काम भी हो जाएगा, तब तक यहाँ काम भी हो जाएगा। ठीक है। हेलो हेलो हेलो, क्या हो गया? आई थिंक दैट माइक में कुछ दिक्कत है, अब आवाज़ कम आ रही है। हेलो, आई थिंक दैट माइक में कुछ दिक्कत है, अब आवाज़ कम आ रही है। हेलो, आई थिंक दैट अब आवाज़ भी सही आ रही होगी और बफरिंग भी नहीं हो रही है। आई नो दैट देखो उसमें कुछ एरर आ रही है, जैसे ही मैं जैक फंसाऊंगा अंदर आवाज़ फिर से धीरे हो जाएगी। हेलो 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 हेलो, आई थिंक दैट नाउ इट इज एब्सोल्युटली फाइन, वी आर गुड टू गो विद द लेक्चर अगेन। ठीक है, पता नहीं बीच में कुछ हो रहा था, देखती। द ओनली बेस्ट सोल्यूशन इज स्विच ऑफ एंड स्विच इट ऑन। दैट इज द बेस्ट सोल्यूशन, दैट इज द बेस्ट सोल्यूशन आई पर्टिकुलरली बिलीव कि ये हो सकता है। ठीक है, चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं। हमारे यहाँ थोड़े से अलग फंडे चलते हैं। दैट ठंड है तो टोपा जरूर लगाना है, पता, बिकॉज एक्चुअली होता भी है यार, वी थिंक दैट नहीं है, सर्दी नहीं है, बट यू नो व्हाट, फ्रॉम वेयर द cold and cough you actually have the, you can say the cold actually enters your body, that is nose, mouth, ears. Ears is having very high probability that you will get cold. If your ears are not closed, then it is very difficult for you to get saved from a cold and cough in the particular season. Then your nails and this area, you are going to have a very high probability that cold is going to enter this part, because it is very sensitive, your palm, your feet। ठीक है, जो जो ओपन एरियाज रहते हैं ना, ओपन एरियाज देखो, सेंसिटिव एरियाज और एंट्री पॉइंट्स। तो दिस इज सेंसिटिव एरिया, द फ्लैट फुट इज द बॉटम ऑफ द फुट इज अ सेंसिटिव एरिया। ठीक है, द बॉटम ऑफ द फुट इज अ सेंसिटिव एरिया, एंड एट द सेम टाइम, ठीक है, एक सेकंड, हेलो हेलो, चलो, so that is why please be safe, examination is very close and you have to be healthy before the examination, because if you are not healthy you cannot study, and if you cannot study you cannot crack the examination। ठीक है, there is a question by तन्वी कपूर, सर कितना टाइम लगेगा फॉर्मिंग खत्म होने में? देखो देखो, सबसे पहली बात तो फॉर्मिंग खत्म हो चुका है। ठीक है, मैंने कल बताया था फॉर्मिंग, मतलब अगर आप इस पर्सपेक्टिव से पूछ रहे हो कि प्रैक्टिस में कितना टाइम लगेगा, तो आई वुड सजेस्ट मेटल कटिंग और मेटल फॉर्मिंग को थोड़ा ज्यादा टाइम दो इन एज फार एज न्यूमेरिकल्स आर कंसर्न। ठीक है, क्योंकि इनसे बहुत क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, बहुत ज्यादा। वेयर एज कास्टिंग की अगर आप बात कर रहे हो कि गलती से लिख दिया फॉर्मिंग, तो कास्टिंग की अगर आप बात कर रहे हो तो आई थिंक दैट इट विल रिक्वायर अराउंड 10 आवर्स ऑफ टाइम। अब 10 आवर्स में हो सकता है आज ही 6 घंटे में पढ़ा दूं, या हो सकता है कल भी हो, परसों भी हो। ठीक है, सो बट 10 आवर्स मैक्सिमम आई विल टेक इन कास्टिंग। ठीक है, चलो, सो लेट अस स्टार्ट विद द श्रिंकेज अलाउंस। क्या हो गया यार, Z श्रिंकेज अलाउंस तो अब देखो क्या होता है, whenever body loses heat it will try to expand or contract, it will try to expand on or contract, it will try to expand or contract, it will try to expand or contract। ठीक है, whenever it is contracting we say that shrinkage is happening, so contraction is nothing but shrinkage, contraction is nothing but shrinkage, contraction is nothing but shrinkage। कॉन्ट्रैक्शन इज नथिंग बट श्रिंकेज। तो देखो क्या होता है, let me tell you first that at what all stages you lose heat. So you need to understand this small part. Let me draw a diagram. ठीक है, देखो what is this sir, what is this? तो देखो this is temperature and this is time. This is temperature. So at this point the temperature is pouring temperature at which the liquid molten metal is poured into the mold cavity. Now when it will starts to solidify, from pouring temperature it is cooled to the solidification temperature. ठीक है, जिस जैसे वाटर है, so at you can say pouring temperature, suppose the pouring temperature is 45 degree centigrade, then like suppose say there is a you can say iron, so iron at 729 degrees Celsius it is poured, and suppose 100 degrees Celsius is the freezing point of iron, so it will get cooled down to 100. ठीक है, so it will lose heat to come down from pouring temperature to solidification temperature. Heat loss is there, heat is lost. ठीक है, then very important, after this from solidification temperature in the liquid state it will come to the solidification temperature in the solid state. ठीक है, अब एक फेज आएगा at 100 degree liquid, it will turn from 100 degree liquid to 100 degree solid. This is known as latent heat. This is known as latent heat. ठीक है, तो latent heat is lost. Latent heat is lost, and again from solidification temperature solid phase it will come to room temperature. It will come to room temperature. तो again heat तो loss होगा, तभी तो इसका temperature गिरेगा. It has to come to room temperature. So don't you think this is again heat is lost? This is specific heat. This is also specific heat. That is depend on the temperature decreasing, but the middle one latent heat is the heat lost due to the change in phase. Temperature change तो हो नहीं रहा है, so that is why it is the heat loss due to change in phase. So there are three phases in which the heat is lost. First, from the pouring temperature to the freezing temperature, from the freezing temperature to the liquid state to freezing temperature solid state, and from freezing temperature solid state to room temperature. So this is the manner in which the heat is lost. This is the manner in which the heat is lost. This is the manner in which the heat is lost. Heat loss कैसे होगा? ऐसे होगा. ठीक है. Now let me point it up. This is point A, point B, point C and point D. ठीक है. A to B is a liquid phase because the liquid phase. B to C is a solidification phase. And C to D is the solid phase. This is the solid phase. This is the solid phase. This is the solid phase. Is it clear to all of you? This is the solid phase. So that is why आपको एक चीज समझनी पड़ेगी that these are the three phases. In all the three phases heat is lost, and in all the three phases some amount of contraction is happening. Some amount of contraction is happening. Some amount of contraction is happening. Is it clear? हर फेज में कुछ ना कुछ कॉन्ट्रैक्शन तो होगा ही होगा. हर फेज में कुछ ना कुछ कॉन्ट्रैक्शन तो बिल्कुल होगा. बिल्कुल होगा. इज इट क्लियर? तो हर फेज में अगर कॉन्ट्रैक्शन होगा तो दैट इज व्हाई यू हैव टू कंपनसेट एवरी फेज. यस और नो? तो ध्यान से देखो, पहले लिख लो. मैं लिखवा रहा हूं, वो लिखते जाओ. नाउ in liquid phase and solidification phase. In liquid phase and solidification phase, what will happen? In liquid phase and solidification will happen, shrinkage will be in terms of volume. कि कितना volume shrink हुआ है, because it is not having a fixed shape. You cannot say it is like length is decreasing by this or radius is decreasing by this. No, it is not having any shape. It is in liquid format. In solidification also, complete solid is not there. So that is why a perfect shape is not there. So that is why liquid phase and solidification phase, shrinkage is expressed in terms of volume. In terms of volume के रिस्पेक्ट में it is expressed, that is shrinkage is expressed in terms of volume. And अगर लिक्विड है तो डोंट यू थिंक वी कैन पोर इन मोर लिक्विड सो दैट ऑटोमेटिकली जितना कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो रहा है आई एम पोरिंग मोर एंड मोर लिक्विड. डोंट यू थिंक सो? इफ द श्रिंकेज इज बाय वॉल्यूम इट इज इन लिक्विड फेज. इफ इट इज कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग, ठीक है, इफ इट इज कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग, अगर ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो रहा है, देन व्हाट विल हैपन? अगर ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होगा तो डोंट यू थिंक यू कैन पोर इन लिक्विड एंड फिल इट अप अगेन? If liquid is shrinking, you can pour in more liquid. You can pour in more liquid and fill it up again. Yes or no? अगर आपको ये फैसिलिटी है, why to provide something extra? Why to provide allowances on the pattern? क्या जरूरत है पैटर्न को बड़ा बनाने की? If it is in liquid phase, automatically you will pour the liquid metal and fill it up again. This takes place with the help of riser. This takes place with the help of riser. What is riser? It is a tank of molten metal. Riser को आप क्या बोल सकते हो? Tank of molten metal. Tank of molten metal. आप riser को क्या बोल सकते हो? Tank of molten metal. What you can say riser? It is a tank of molten metal. ठीक है, molten metal का टैंक होता है ये. ठीक है भाई, बिल्कुल कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, बढ़िया चीज है, एकदम टकाटक चीज है, क्या दिक्कत है इसमें? ठीक है. बट द थर्ड स्टेज, ये जो स्टेज होती है सॉलिड स्टेज. If the material is already solidified, you cannot pour in the liquid metal because then it will, if it is contracting, space will be created. But if you put in more metal, there will be a clear discontinuity because under ka material is already solidified. So that is why we make the pattern bigger such that I can compensate for this solid shrinkage. So likho allowances in pattern is provided. Allowances on pattern is provided to compensate for solid shrinkage. Allowances in the pattern is provided to compensate for the solid shrinkage. सॉलिड श्रिंकेज को कंपेंसेट करने के लिए हम पैटर्न पे अलाउंसेस प्रोवाइड करते हैं. ठीक है, एंड सॉलिड श्रिंकेज इट इज एक्सप्रेस्ड इन पर मीटर। एक मीटर में कितना कॉन्ट्रैक्शन हो रहा है साइडवेज दैट इज साइड वाइज सॉलिड श्रिंकेज इज प्रोवाइडेड। सॉलिड श्रिंकेज जो होता है वो साइड वाइज प्रोवाइड होता है, ठीक है। लिक्विड श्रिंकेज एंड सॉलिडिफिकेशन श्रिंकेज आर प्रोवाइडेड वॉल्यूम वाइज, ठीक है, वॉल्यूम वाइज, दैट इज इट इज एक्सप्रेस्ड लीनियरली एक्सप्रेशन होता है। ठीक है, अब देखो श्रिंकेज की वैल्यू आ गई, अब कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट रिजल्ट है वो लिख लो। देयर आर सर्टेन, क्या हो गया भाई इसको, नाउ इंपॉर्टेंट रिजल्ट, ये देखो, ठीक है, सॉलिड श्रिंकेज इज रिप्रेजेंटेड बाय अल्फा, ठीक है, जो आपने पढ़ा था ना लीनियर कोएफिशिएंट ऑफ एक्सपेंशन कॉन्ट्रैक्शन, तो वही चीज होती है ये, ठीक है। सो लिखो अल्फा, अल्फा अगर पॉजिटिव है then we say it is shrinkage. If alpha is 0, we will say no contraction or expansion. No contraction or expansion. And ये काय में होता है, तो इसके सबसे अच्छे एग्जाम्पल हैं इनवार एंड बिस्मुथ। ये याद रखना, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एग्जाम्पल है, which will neither contract or expand on cooling. What are the two materials that will neither contract or expand on cooling? Invar and bismuth. Invar and bismuth. And is there any material? Is there any material? Is there any material? ठीक है, and is there any material which expands? Yes. So if alpha is negative for any material, it expands. And the basic classic example is gray cast iron. अब gray cast iron में it will not expand in all the three phases. Remember, it will not expand in all the three phases. In the first two phase it will contract, volumetric contraction ही होता है, but in case of solid shrinkage it is having solid expansion. That's it. ऐसा नहीं है कि पूरा ही expand हो जाएगा, ठीक है। ग्रे कास्ट आयरन, there are still study going on, there is a lot of topic of debate, but gray cast iron में in all the three stages you don't have expansion. ये गलत है जो भी बता रहा है, you only have expansion, you only have expansion, you only have expansion in the solid shrinkage, whereas other two shrinkages are normal shrinkages only, whereas the last stage you will see the expansion, but sometimes it happens the net is shrinkage only, the net is shrinkage only. ये याद रखना बस, ठीक है, ये याद रखना, दिस इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, ठीक है। अब कुछ रिजल्ट्स होते हैं, रिजल्ट्स लिख लो, चलो मैं डिक्टेट कर दूंगा, आप रिजल्ट लिख लो, अल्फा की वैल्यू लिख लो, एंड व्हाट इज द कॉन्ट्रैक्शन। मेनी अ टाइम्स इट इज आस्क्ड कि इनमें से कौन सा होता है, तो लिखो मटेरियल, वैल्यू ऑफ अल्फा फॉर देम। सो द फर्स्ट वन इज व्हाइट मेटल, इसकी कितनी होती है 5 mm per मीटर, ठीक है। इसके बाद लिखो, मैं लिख नहीं रहा हूं, आप लिखो, कास्ट आयरन 10 mm पर मीटर, 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 कास्ट आयरन 10 mm पर मीटर। कास्ट आयरन 10 mm पर मीटर। फिर लिखो कॉपर 16 mm पर मीटर, कॉपर 16 mm पर मीटर, कॉपर 16 mm पर मीटर, कॉपर कितना है 16 mm पर मीटर, 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 16 mm पर मीटर। ठीक है, मीटर। उसके आगे लिखो स्टील, उससे ज्यादा किसकी होती है स्टील, दैट इज 20 mm पर मीटर। स्टील का कितना होता है 20 mm पर मीटर, 20 mm पर मीटर। ट्वेंटी mm पर मीटर। ठीक है, इसके बाद देखो ब्रास 23 mm पर मीटर, 23 mm पर मीटर, 23 mm पर मीटर, 23 mm पर मीटर, 23 mm पर मीटर। ठीक है, अब इसके बाद कुछ बहुत ही ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट रिजल्ट है जो कि गेट में डायरेक्टली आ सकते हैं। ठीक है, लिखो, देखो अब अलग अलग श्रिंकेज होते हैं ना, तो लिखो एल्यूमिनियम इज हैविंग मैक्सिमम लिक्विड श्रिंकेज, इट इज हैविंग मैक्सिमम लिक्विड श्रिंकेज। किसका सबसे ज्यादा लिक्विड श्रिंकेज होता है एल्यूमिनियम का। देखो एल्यूमिनियम इज हैविंग मैक्सिमम लिक्विड श्रिंकेज, मैक्सिमम लिक्विड श्रिंकेज, मैक्सिमम लिक्विड श्रिंकेज। इसके बाद देखो ब्रास इज हैविंग मैक्सिमम सॉलिड श्रिंकेज, ब्रास इज हैविंग मैक्सिमम सॉलिड श्रिंकेज, ब्रास इज हैविंग मैक्सिमम सॉलिड श्रिंकेज। brass is having maximum solid shrinkage, brass is having maximum solid shrinkage। ठीक है, इसके बाद देखो लिक्विड एंड सॉलिड श्रिंकेज टुगेदर इज मैक्सिमम फॉर स्टील, लिक्विड एंड सॉलिड श्रिंकेज टुगेदर इज मैक्सिमम फॉर स्टील। liquid and solid shrinkage together will be maximum for steel। ठीक है, ये लिख दिया। इसके बाद यही मेन चीज थी। ठीक है, इसके बाद लिखो, एक क्वेश्चन दे देता हूं मैं आपको, वो लिखो इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स, इंपॉर्टेंट रिजल्ट लिख लिए। इसके बाद एक छोटा सा क्वेश्चन है जो गेट 2001 में आया है। श्रिंकेज अलाउंस ऑन द पैटर्न इज प्रोवाइडेड टू कंपेंसेट ऑफ द श्रिंकेज व्हेन अ टेम्परेचर ऑप्शन ए। चलो ये छोड़ो यार, ये क्या ही करोगे, इतना इजी क्वेश्चन है, यही तो मैंने अभी आंसर बताया है आपको, क्या ही क्वेश्चन करोगे। ठीक है, इसके बाद क्या करना था अपने को, हाँ एक ग्रे कास्ट आयरन का एक क्वेश्चन लिखो, एक न्यूमेरिकल में देता हूं आपको। अ ग्रे कास्ट आयरन ब्लॉक of 200 into 100 into 10 meter is produced by sand molding process. By sand molding process, the pattern allowance is equal to 1%. What is the ratio of volume of pattern to volume of casting? ठीक है, और ये अलाउंस ऑफ 1% इन सॉलिड श्रिंकेज, टोटल 1% नहीं है। अगर टोटल 1% होता तो आप इसको कॉन्ट्रैक्शन ही लेते, बट अगर स्पेसिफिकली मेंशन किया गया, दे हैव स्पेसिफिकली मेंशन दैट दिस इज इन सॉलिड श्रिंकेज, दिस इज अ सॉलिड श्रिंकेज, दिस इज इन सॉलिड श्रिंकेज, देन यू डोंट हैव टू वरी अबाउट एनीथिंग। ठीक है, चलो जल्दी करो, टाइम लगेगा इसको करने में। हेलो एवरीवन, आंसर करो ये क्वेश्चन, जब तब तो मजा आए। चलो, साउंड वाउंड भी सब बढ़िया चल रहा है, वीडियो भी सब बढ़िया चल रहा है, किसी को कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, मुझे भी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, आपको भी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, तो सॉल्व कर दो इसको जल्दी से, फटाफट सॉल्व कर दो इसको जल्दी से। अच्छा हाँ, चलो ठीक, देखो इसका सोल्यूशन मैं आपको दे देता हूं। आई विल गिव यू द सोल्यूशन टू दिस क्वेश्चन। पहले मैं कुछ चेक करूंगा। आई विल गिव यू द सोल्यूशन टू दिस क्वेश्चन। तरीके से वो करना पड़ेगा। हो नहीं पा रहा है। देखो मैं आपको कुछ चीजें बेसिकली बता देता हूं कि है क्या दिक्कत कहां पर है। देखो सबसे पहले आपको वॉल्यूम ऑफ कास्टिंग निकालना है। मुझे मतलब नहीं है वॉल्यूम ऑफ कास्टिंग तो आप यहीं पे निकाल सकते हो 1 मिनट के अंदर। दिस इज अ क्यूबॉइडल कास्टिंग, द वॉल्यूम ऑफ कास्टिंग विल बी 200 into 100 into 10, but now you need to check back what will be the change in length after। देखो 1%, now solid shrinkage दिया है तो obviously you understand it is not volumetric shrinkage। 1% वॉल्यूम कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नहीं हो रही है या वॉल्यूम एक्सपैंड नहीं हो रही है। You understand first of all it is expansion because gray cast iron is given and solid shrinkage is given, and secondly it is linear dimension, because if it is not a linear dimension then specifically they will mention that the volumetric dimension you need to check. So you know that 1% expansion in each side will take place, that is 1.01 into 200 will be the new length of the pattern, will be the new length of the pattern। ठीक है, ये yes or no आपको ये चीज समझ में आ रही है कि नहीं? Because volume of pattern, so you need to make pattern smaller, yes or no? You need to make the pattern smaller, yes or no? Yes or no? Such that for example your pattern length is LP, such that 1.01 into LP should be equal to 200, 1.01 into LP should be equal to 200। so can you say LP is equal to 200 divided by 1.01? can you say it is 1.01? बिल्कुल सही। what will be the width of pattern? that is width of pattern will be 100 divided by 1.01, and what will be the height of the pattern? 10 divided by 1.01. this will be the volume, this will be the volume। and now if somebody asks you what is the volume of pattern to volume of casting, volume of pattern to volume of casting, that is 200 divided by 1.01 into 100 divided by 1.01 into 10 divided by 1.01 divided by 200 into 100 into 10। so can you say this is nothing but equal to 1.01 to the power 3? and जो भी आंसर आएगा वो आप यहाँ पे लिख दोगे, जो भी आंसर आएगा। आई एम नॉट श्योर व्हाट इज द आंसर, 0.97 है शायद ये आंसर, 0.97। for all other values, for all other materials, ratio of volume by pattern to volume by casting will be greater than 1, but for gray cast iron, that too for solid shrinkage, the value is less than 1। for gray cast iron and that too for solid shrinkage, the value is less than 1, the value will be less than 1। ठीक है, चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं। ठीक है, सॉलिड श्रिंकेज हो चुका है आपका, लिखो अगला, लिखो ड्राफ्ट और टेपर अलाउंस। ड्राफ्ट और टेपर अलाउंस, ड्राफ्ट और टेपर्ड अलाउंस, ड्राफ्ट और टेपर्ड अलाउंस। तो देखो क्या होता है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल if this is your casting, suppose this is your casting now and this is your mold, this is your mold, this is your mold। now if you try to take out, now if you check, some amount of interaction will happen on this wall and it is not possible। आप इसको बाहर कैसे निकालोगे? how you will pick it up? don't you think there is no option of picking it up? so why don't you think that you make an extra material like this? green color से बताता हूं, you make an extra material like this, you make an extra material like this। ठीक है, and now that is why now your tool, your mold will look like this। this is your extra part, this is your extra part, you can machine it up, but ध्यान से देखो इसका यूज क्या होगा। this will be your mold, this is your mold, This is your mold. Now, don't you think if you put scales like this and do it like this, don't you think if you put the scale like this and do it like this, don't you think the entire set will come up? Yes or no? So for ease of removal, of pattern, for ease of removal of pattern from the mold, for the ease of removal of pattern from the mold, draft allowance is provided. Provided in degrees. ये जो होगा ना, ये डिग्री में होता है. This angle, this angle, this angle will be in degree. This is the angle which will be in degree. This is the taper allowance. लिखो, आगे लिखो. Taper, लिखो. When we remove pattern from the mold, when we try to remove pattern from the mold, when we try to remove pattern from the mold, when we try to remove pattern from the mold, gap between pattern and mold surface, gap between pattern and mold surface will be there, and with very little effort, and very little mold distortion, 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 we can take out the pattern. 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 For easy removal of the pattern from the mold, for easy removal of the pattern from the mold, for easy removal of the pattern from the mold, vertical walls of the pattern are tapered. Vertical walls of the pattern are tapered, and the value of taper depend on the vertical wall of the pattern. Depend on the vertical wall of the pattern. ठीक है, आगे लिखो. अगला लिखो मशीनिंग अलाउंस. Third one is machining allowance. The third allowance that you need to study is machining allowance. बस अब लिखना है, थ्योरी है. Machining allowance. Note it down. It is expressed in mm per surface. It is expressed in terms of mm per surface. एक सरफेस से कितना mm मशीन करना है. Is it clear? mm per surface. Casting objects are not having smooth surface finish. लिखो, casting objects are not having smooth surface finish. To get it, machining is required. To get it, machining is required. To get it, machining is required. Due to machining, due to machining, due to machining, the size of the casting will be reduced. The size of the casting will be reduced. The size of the casting will be reduced. To overcome this, pattern will be made of larger size. Pattern will be made of larger size such that after machining, such that after machining, such that after machining, such that after machining, the actual size is obtained. The actual size is obtained. Change the paragraph and write the value of allowance. The value of allowance depend on. The value of allowance depend on. The value of allowance depend on. The value of allowance depend on the size of the silicon grains. The size of the silica grains and surface finish required by the casting. And surface finish required by the casting. ठीक है, मशीनिंग अलाउंस भी यही रहता है. इसके बाद लिखो शेक अलाउंस. शेक नहीं, शेक अलाउंस. शेक अलाउंस, इसको प्यार से ड्रैपिंग अलाउंस भी बोलते हैं. लिखो during ramming mold sand will stick to the surface of the pattern. Molding sand will stick to the surface of the pattern. Molding sand will stick to the surface of the pattern. Due to adhesive properties, due to adhesive properties, due to adhesive properties, due to adhesive properties, for easy removal of the pattern. अब देखो क्या रहेगा आपका पैटर्न, ऐसा रहेगा. If it is stuck, can you take out normally? No, you will shake it and take out. You will shake it and take out. So that what is happening when you are taking out the pattern, automatically the size of the cavity is getting enlarged. Don't you think this is just opposite to what we are doing? Don't you think in this case the pattern should be made small such that when we will shake and take it out, the size of the cavity will become what is required, will become what is required. So that is why, write it down, write it down. Likho, since the size of the pattern needs to be reduced to overcome this problem, since the size of the, since the size of the pattern needs to be reduced to overcome this problem, it is known as the negative allowance. Negative को अंडरलाइन कर लो, ये क्वेश्चन डायरेक्टली आता है. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज द नेगेटिव अलाउंस? तो आपको पता होना चाहिए शेक अलाउंस इज द नेगेटिव अलाउंस. ठीक है, क्योंकि उसमें साइज बड़ा हो रहा है कैविटी का. इन ऑल द केसेस द कॉन्ट्रैक्शन इज, वी आर फेसिंग कॉन्ट्रैक्शन, but in case of shake allowance, due to shake the size of the cavity is getting big, so that is why we need to make the pattern small. In all other cases I am making the pattern somewhat extra size just to compensate the various problems. In this case I will be making the pattern smaller to compensate this problem, so that is why it is known as negative allowance. That is why it is known as negative allowance. That is why it is known as negative allowance. देखो, for easy removal of the pattern, some clearance is required between the pattern and the mold. Some clearance is required between the pattern because some clearance is provided or some clearance is required between the pattern and the mold. To produce the clearance, shaking is performed. Shaking is done. Just a second, I think it's an important call. ओके, देखो शेक अलाउंस लिख दिया, ठीक है। इसके बाद लिखो डिस्टॉर्शन अलाउंस। द लास्ट अलाउंस वी आर गोइंग टू स्टडी इज डिस्टॉर्शन अलाउंस। ठीक है, डिस्टॉर्शन अलाउंस। तो लिखो डिस्टॉर्शन अलाउंस क्या होता है, लिखो आउटर साइड। देखो एक डायग्राम देखो पहले। Suppose this is the shape of your material. Suppose this is the shape of your material. Suppose this is the shape of your material. This is L2. This is L1. Now L1 is more than L2. Now what will happen? देखो ये तो molten metal से बना है. This will be made up of molten metal. ठीक है, molten metal. But due to molten metal, the heat of the molten metal, it will try to, देखो, if you increase the temperature, linear coefficient of thermal expansion, thermal contraction, so similarly due to thermal stresses, it will either bend inwards or it will go outwards. So the final shape will look like either this or it will look like this. It will bend for sure. It will get bent for sure. It will get bent for sure. It will get bent for sure. Is it clear? ये bending तो होगी ही होगी. Bending तो होगी either inward or outwards. Either inwards or outwards. Either inwards or outwards. Is it clear? Either inwards or outwards. ठीक है, तो अब देखो, लिखो कैसी होगी. Outer side has more length. देखो, outer side has more length and hence more stresses will be generated on the outer surface. Outer side has more length and hence more stresses will be generated at the outer surface. More stresses will be generated at the outer surface. More stresses will be generated at the outer surface. Hence, the casting may get inclined away from the straight. ठीक है, away from the straight. ठीक है, hence the casting may get inclined away from the straight part. ठीक है, depending upon the shape and size of the casting, depending upon the shape and size of the casting, depending upon the shape and size of the casting, due to the difference in linear dimension, Due to the difference in the linear dimension, stresses are developed in the casting. Stresses are developed in the casting. Stresses are developed in the casting. And it will not be equal in all the parts. It will not be equal in all the parts. It will not be equal in all the parts. Due to this, there is a possibility of distortion of the casting. Distortion of the casting. To overcome this, draft allowance is provided. Draft allowance is provided. ठीक है, देखो मान लो इस तरीके से बेंड हो रहा है, तो इनिशियली वी विल मेक द पैटर्न ऑफ दिस शेप so that after outward distortion it can come to the original shape. And if it is bending like this, if the distortion is in this format, I will make the pattern of this shape so that after inward distortion it becomes straight. समझ में आया? ठीक है, अब लिखो पैटर्न मटेरियल्स, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. पैटर्न तो ठीक है, बट पैटर्न बनता किसका है? पैटर्न मटेरियल्स. ठीक है, इसके बाद ब्रेक ले लेंगे, देन वी विल कंटिन्यू, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. पैटर्न मटेरियल, द फर्स्ट पैटर्न मटेरियल इज वुड. ठीक है, वुड. कौन सी वुड? टीक, महागनी, देवदर. ठीक है, टीक, महागनी, देवदर. ना वुड पैटर्न के बेनिफिट्स क्या है? ये वुड एज अ पैटर्न, व्हाई इट इज अ गुड मटेरियल? तो देखो, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इट इज इजीली अवेलेबल. सेकेंड, इट इज हैविंग वेरी लो कॉस्ट and very easily it can be machined. Very easily it can be machined. ठीक है. Now what are the losses? The biggest loss with wood is it absorbs moisture and the dimension changes, and due to which dimension changes. It absorbs moisture, expand, and the dimension changes. It absorbs moisture, it expands, and the dimension changes. It absorbs moisture, expand, and due to which the dimension changes. Due to which the dimension changes. ठीक है. सेकेंड, एल्यूमिनियम, मेटल्स भी यूज होते हैं, मेटल्स एंड अलॉयज. सेकेंड पैटर्न मटेरियल में और क्या यूज हो सकता है? तो लिखो मेटल अलॉयज. लाइक इट, मतलब कब यूज होंगे? व्हाई? व्हेन वुड विल नॉट बी यूज्ड एंड व्हेन दे विल बी यूज्ड. तो लिखो व्हेन मास प्रोडक्शन इज रिक्वायर्ड. When mass production is required. Second, it will not be affected due to moisture. Third, it will be having good machinability and good surface finish. It will be having good machinability. It will be having good machinability and very good surface finish. वुड में जो सरफेस फिनिश नहीं मिल पाती ना, वो इसमें मिलती है, वो इसमें मिलती है। इज इट क्लियर? ठीक है, बट लॉस क्या है इसमें? द कॉस्ट एंड वेट ऑफ द पैटर्न बोथ आर वेरी हाई। The cost and the weight of the pattern, both of them are very high. The cost and the weight of pattern, both are very high. ठीक है, अब वेट की बात आती है तो कुछ गजब की चीज भी की जाए। तो लिखो वेट को, अब देखो मॉइस्चर को काउंटर करने के लिए यू यूज मेटल। नाउ द बेसिक प्रॉब्लम विथ मेटल इज इट इज हैवी। द बेसिक प्रॉब्लम विथ मेटल इज इट इज हैवी। सो देन यू विल डू व्हाट? द थर्ड इज पीओपी। द थर्ड टाइप इज पीओपी। फॉर पीओपी कौन सी मोल्डिंग में यूज होता है? पीओपी पैटर्न किस में यूज होता है? तो लिखो ब्रैकेट में लिख लेना, फुल मोल्डिंग में यूज होता है पीओपी। याद रखना, फुल मोल्डिंग में यूज होता है पीओपी। पीओपी पैटर्न। देन वैक्स कैन बी यूज्ड। वैक्स कैन बी यूज्ड एज अ पैटर्न मटेरियल। फोर्थ क्या हो गया? वैक्स। वैक्स कहां यूज होता है? इन इन्वेस्टमेंट कास्टिंग प्रोसेस। इन इन्वेस्टमेंट कास्टिंग प्रोसेस। उसके बाद देखो मर्क्यूरी। मर्क्यूरी विल बी यूज्ड इन मरकास्ट प्रोसेस। सब पता चलेगा, धीरे धीरे पता चलेगा, अभी बस पैटर्न मटेरियल लिख लो। ठीक है, लिखो। फिफ्थ लिखो प्लास्टिक मटेरियल। प्लास्टिक। प्लास्टिक में कौन कौन से? पॉलीस्टाइरीन, ठीक है, पीवीसी, एपॉक्सी, पॉलीविनाइल क्लोराइड, पीवीसी, एपॉक्सी। अब प्लास्टिक मटेरियल का यूज क्या है? पीवीसी, एपॉक्सी। देखो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इट इज इजीली अवेलेबल। प्लास्टिक मटेरियल में देखना, इट इज इजीली अवेलेबल, कॉस्ट इज लो, इट डू नॉट absorb moisture, weight is less, easily fabricated। बट अब देखो अगर यही होती, सब कुछ अच्छा ही होती, इफ एवरीथिंग इज गुड इन दिस, इफ एवरीथिंग इज गुड इन दिस, डोंट यू थिंक इन प्लास्टिक मटेरियल, डोंट यू थिंक इन प्लास्टिक मटेरियल वुड बी द बेस्ट पैटर्न? नो, बट देयर इज अ ड्रॉबैक ऑफ प्लास्टिक, बिकॉज अगर आप बहुत ज्यादा हीटेड एरिया में इसको लेके जाओगे, इट कैन नॉट सर्वाइव। तो लिखो इट इज ओनली यूज्ड फॉर लो मेल्टिंग पॉइंट टेम्परेचर। इट इज ओनली यूज्ड फॉर लो मेल्टिंग पॉइंट टेम्परेचर। ठीक है, चलो। सो यहां पे आपका ये वाला पार्ट खत्म होता है, दैट इज पैटर्न मटेरियल। वुड, मर्क्यूरी, मेटल्स, फोर्थ, वैक्स, फिफ्थ, प्लास्टिक्स। सो यू हैव सीन, यू हैव ऑन एन एवरेज यू हैव सीन, इन तीनों के लिए आपने अच्छे से देख लिया। HG and wax are not that important. It is used in one particular process, that is investment casting. POP भी होता है, that is different. But wood, plastics and metals, these are important categories. And what are the profits and what are the drawbacks of each category you have seen. Now your homework क्या है? To study types of pattern. ये आप घर पे पढ़ लेना, क्योंकि इतना इंपॉर्टेंट होता नहीं है कि मैं एक एक टाइप पढ़ाऊं, एक एक टाइप मैं आपको पढ़ा भी नहीं पाऊंगा। इज इट क्लियर? सो टाइप्स ऑफ पैटर्न इज अ क्वाइट, यू कैन से, लेबरस काइंड ऑफ अ जॉब। लेबरस, बहुत ज्यादा मेहनत लगेगी उसमें। इज इट क्लियर? तो आप ध्यान से दो। इसके बाद सेकेंड चीज आ जाएगी मोल्डिंग सैंड। सो वी विल टेक अ 10 मिनट शॉर्ट ब्रेक एंड देन वी विल स्टार्ट विथ मोल्डिंग सैंड। We will start with molding sand. Pattern तो समझ में आ गया। The first thing is pattern, second is molding sand. Under molding sand, we have to deal with core and core prints also. चलो, we'll take a break. ओके, सो नाउ यू विल अंडरस्टैंड अबाउट मोल्डिंग सैंड। तो सबसे पहले जो मोल्डिंग सैंड होती है ये बनती काय की है? फ्रॉम व्हाट आर द मटेरियल्स विच कंस्टिट्यूट टू मोल्डिंग सैंड? तो लिखो सबसे पहले सिलिका। सिलिका ग्रेन्स जो रहते हैं इट कंस्टिट्यूट टू अबाउट 70 to 80% ऑफ द सैंड, ठीक है। देन क्ले मटेरियल इज यूज्ड। काय के लिए यूज होता है? बिकॉज एज अ बाइंडर। मैं आपको सारी चीजें बताऊंगा, यू विल सी द मोल्डिंग सैंड इन फ्रंट ऑफ योर स्क्रीन। यू विल सी द मोल्डिंग सैंड इन फ्रंट ऑफ योर स्क्रीन, ठीक है। स्क्रीन पे आप देख लोगे, बट जस्ट हैव पेशेंस। सो 10 to 20% is your clay. Then इसके अलावा water is used. So you can say 2 to 8% of water is used, and then some of the additives is 1 to 2%. Some of the additives are also used. Now why clay is used, why water is used, why additives is used, what are the different types of additives, we are going to discuss in this particular module. In this particular module we are going to discuss about what? These things only, कि clay क्यों use होती है, water क्यों use होता है, ठीक है। ये वाली चीजें हम डिस्कस करेंगे। चलो ठीक है, तो देखो सबसे पहले समझ लो कि काय के लिए यूज कर रहे हो। देखो चलो देखते हैं, करते हैं ये वाली चीज करते हैं, ठीक है। अब देखो सिलिका ग्रेन्स आर यूज्ड बिकॉज दे आर हैविंग वेरी हाई रिफ्रैक्टरीनेस। दे आर हैविंग वेरी हाई रिफ्रैक्टरीनेस। ये बेस बनाते हैं आपके मोल्डिंग सैंड का। रिफ्रैक्टरीनेस प्रॉपर्टी क्या होती है? दैट इट डज नॉट गेट बर्न्ड एट हाई टेम्परेचर। इट कैन विथस्टैंड वेरी हाई टेम्परेचर्स। They can withstand very high temperature. They can withstand very high temperature. That is what is the property of refractoriness. Now, not only silica is used, बहुत सारे और भी materials होते हैं. We will see that. We will see that. What are those materials? We will see the. We will see that. ठीक है. Now, clay is used as a binder. Clay is used as a binder. देखो clay क्या करता है? Silica grains को join करता है. Usually यहां देखना, this is your silica grain. Now if the silica grains are kept next to each other, if the silica grains are kept next to each other, they will slide because the friction is very less. They are having very low adhesive property. Adhesive property of the silica grains is very less. So what you will do, you will coat them with clay. You will coat them with clay. You will use clay. So there is a layer of clay over the silica grains. Now you all know silica clay gets stick to each other. So that is why now the bond is formed between the material. So that is why it will give strength to the molding sand. This will give strength to the molding sand. ठीक है, clay is used as a binder material to join different silica grains, and when the joint is formed, it will give a solid structure and strength to the molding sand, so that when I am pouring the liquid metal, when the heat is there, it should not collapse. So to avoid collapsing when we are pouring the liquid metal, the strength is required. This strength you will get by the bond formation. Bond gets formed between the clay material. Now why water is used? देखो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, clay is a solid part. Now when you mix water in it, then only it will become semi-solid and gets coated over the silica grains. We require the coating of clay over the silica grains to get joined, to form the bond, to increase the strength. But how the clay will coat over each silica grains when it is semi-solid or liquid in nature? So that is why I am adding water to activate clay. and additives are used for miscellaneous properties. Refractoriness बढ़ाना है, hardness बढ़ानी है, strength बढ़ानी है, collapsibility बढ़ानी है, then you can say like toughness बढ़ानी है. There are many properties that are required in sand. Don't you think these qualities or these properties can be included using certain additives? बिल्कुल आपको पता होना चाहिए कि additives मिला के molding sand बनाई जा सकती है. Molding sand में वो properties ला सकते हैं. We can get those properties in the molding sand by adding some additives. Now what are those additives? You will come to know. First, give the heading refractoriness. Refractoriness. देखो, it is the property of, और देखो, it is the property which enables you. 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 It is the property which enables you to withstand high temperature. To withstand high temperature. For example, silica can sustain up to 1700 degrees Celsius. लिखो सिलिका डैश 1700 डिग्री सेल्सियस. इसके बाद देखो ऑलिवाइन. Silica can sustain up to 1700 degrees Celsius. If the pouring temperature is more, that is more than 1700 degrees Celsius, silica grains will get burnt. So that is why in that case we will use olivine. It is also a material. It can sustain up to 1800 degrees Celsius. 1800 degrees Celsius. 1800 degrees Celsius. ठीक है. इसके बाद आता है जिरकोनियम. 2700 डिग्री सेल्सियस. 2700 डिग्री सेल्सियस. इसके बाद आते हैं सिरेमिक्स. दे कैन विथस्टैंड अप टू 3500 डिग्री सेल्सियस. एंड फाइनली द बेस्ट refractory material but costly is graphite. It can sustain up to 4200 degrees Celsius. ठीक है. So depending on the pouring temperature, refractory material लिख लो. Refractory material is decided based on pouring temperature. 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 ठीक है. लिख लो अपनी लैंग्वेज में जो भी लिखना चाहो लिख लो इस चीज का शॉर्ट फॉर्म. देन वील मूव टू द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक. ठीक है. इसके बाद लिखो सेकेंड. लिखो क्ले. क्ले. तो व्हाट आर द कॉमन क्लेज दैट वी यूज? बेंटोनाइट एंड केलोनाइट. ठीक है. लिखो clay material is used clay material is used to form cohesive force between the silica grains. Clay is used to form cohesive force क्लास में क्लास में 'bentonite and keldonite। इसके बाद लिखो the purpose, ऐसा लिखो the purpose of clay is to activate the purpose of the clay is to form cohesive bond between the silica grains and increase its strength. This is done by coating silica grains with clay. This is done by coating silica grains with clay. This is done by coating silica grains with clay. This is done by coating silica grains with clay. This is done by coating silica grains with clay. Silica grains with clay. ठीक है, silica grains with clay। ठीक है, now to coat clay should be in activated form। Activated मतलब semi solid, it is ready to cover and ready to form bond। तो लिखो to form bond clay should be in activated form, which is done by mixing water, which is done by mixing water, which is done by mixing water। ठीक है, चलो और चीज देखेंगे, बट नाउ गिव द हेडिंग। properties required in मोल्डिंग सैंड। मोल्डिंग सैंड में क्या क्या प्रॉपर्टी होनी चाहिए? मोल्डिंग सैंड में क्या क्या प्रॉपर्टीज होनी चाहिए? डोंट यू थिंक सो कि कुछ प्रॉपर्टीज होनी चाहिए मोल्डिंग सैंड में? देयर शुड बी सम प्रॉपर्टीज इन द मोल्डिंग सैंड। तो लिखो फर्स्ट प्रॉपर्टी इज रिफ्रैक्टरीनेस। ये वैसे मैं लिखा चुका हूं, लिखो refractoriness comes from the refractory material। ठीक है, but refractoriness, it is the ability of the molding sand to withhold high temperature। ये आप लिख चुके हो, it is the ability of the molding sand to withstand high temperature, to withstand high temperature। ठीक है, सेकेंड वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट प्रॉपर्टी इज परमिबिलिटी। अब ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, इस पे न्यूमेरिकल भी बनता है। तो लिखो एबिलिटी ऑफ द मोल्डिंग सैंड, एबिलिटी ऑफ द मोल्डिंग सैंड टू अलाउ द गैसेस टू एस्केप, एबिलिटी ऑफ द मोल्डिंग सैंड टू अलाउ द गैसेस टू एस्केप। Ability of the molding sand to allow the gases to escape। जो gases absorb हो जाती है ना, if they gets into the final casting, it will lead to defect। So don't you think the gases that are like you can say absorbed while pouring the liquid, if you are pouring the liquid, the atmospheric gases will get absorbed after getting into the mold? Don't you think there should be the passage to allow the gases to pass? Don't you think if there is a passage, the gases will pass and the casting will be very sound? But if gases do not pass, then the casting may be defective। So that is why I want this property कि जो मेरा मटेरियल है ना, सैंड मटेरियल, should be such that there should be gap in between, there should be gap in between from which the gas can pass, from which the gas can pass, from which the atmospheric or absorbed gases, the absorbed gases can pass, the absorbed gases can pass, the absorbed gases can pass। Is it clear? Is it clear? So absorbed gases can pass। It is expressed by the term, it is expressed in terms of permeability number। It is expressed in terms of permeability number। देखो मैं बता देता हूं इनका वैल्यू क्या रहता है. हाउ परमिबिलिटी नंबर इज कैलकुलेटेड. यू टेक अ स्पेसिमेन ऑफ द सैंड मटेरियल जो आपको चाहिए. दिस इज मेड अप ऑफ सैंड मटेरियल जिसका आपको परमिबिलिटी नंबर चाहिए. नाउ दिस इज 5.08 centimeter and this is also 5.08 centimeter. 5.08 centimeter, 5.08 centimeter. बिल्कुल सही है भाई, बिल्कुल सही है. क्या दिक्कत है? कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. तो V now some amount of air is passed through it. Usually it is 2000 centimeter cube. ठीक है. सो लिखो V is volume of air passed. Now अगर क्वेश्चन में कुछ और दियो देन व्हाट हैपन. वॉल्यूम ऑफ एयर पास्ड. व्हाट इज H? हाइट ऑफ स्पेसिमेन. ठीक है. व्हाट इज P? प्रेशर ऑफ द एयर पास्ड. Pressure of air passed. Usually the value of P is 5 gram per centimeter square. ठीक है. लेकिन आप ये नहीं लोगे. If nothing is given in the question, then only you will consider these values. You will consider these values. Else you will not consider. ठीक है. Area of specimen. That is pi by 4 into 5.08 का whole square. This is approximately 20.268 centimeter square. Pi by 4 into 5.08 the whole square. And what is T? I will calculate the time in minutes the air required to completely pass through that specimen. Time required by air to pass, स्पेशली इन मिनट्स. याद रखना इन मिनट्स बहुत जरूरी है. सेकेंड्स में नहीं पुट कर देना. यू हैव टू पुट इन मिनट्स ओनली. इज इट क्लियर? ठीक है. दीज आर द वैल्यूज. दिस इज द चेक. ठीक है. इज इट क्लियर टू ऑल ऑफ यू? नाउ लेट अस डू अ कैलकुलेट स्मॉल क्वेश्चन बेस्ड ऑन गेट एग्जाम. 2000 सेंटीमीटर क्यूब ऑफ एयर is passed through standard specimen standard specimen in 1.5 minute. 1.5 minute. What is the value of permeability number? 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 चलो करो क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करो. जल्दी करो और आंसर बताओ. जल्दी से 2 मिनट और दूंगा मैं. देन यू विल आंसर करो और बताओ बढ़िया तरीके से. Bentonite percent depends na. It varies from material to material. जल्दी से लाइक वाइक कर दो, अगर लाइक नहीं किया हो तो बढ़िया तरीके से। चलो देखो, सिंपल सी चीज है, it is equal to VH upon PAT. Nothing is given in the question. You will directly apply the values. To 2000 into 5.08 divided by 5 gram per centimeter square into area. Area is 20.268 into 1.5 in minutes. When you will solve, you will be getting the value somewhere around 66. This is your permeability number. This is your permeability number. This is the calculation of permeability number जो कि गेट एग्जाम में आता है, ठीक है। अब permeability number का एक ग्राफ होता है, समझो। That is, what will happen to permeability with the moisture content? देखो, ध्यान से समझना। Initially, the product is like this. स्टार्टिंग में, एकदम स्टार्टिंग में, the product is like this. This is your refractory material, and here you would be having what? The clay particles. So this is nothing but clay, and this is nothing but refractory material. So if you mix the water, the clay gets, if you mix the water, the clay gets activated and a coating is formed around the refractory material. Yes or no? A coating is formed around the refractory material. ठीक है? So now it will go like this. एक लेयर बन जाएगी. So obviously these spaces are now allowed, these spaces are available for the gases to pass. So don't you think with the increase in moisture content, with the increase in moisture, the permeability number increases? Yes, it increases, absolutely it increases. But you have to understand this one thing. Now once the activation is done, the complete coating is done. Now if you add more moisture, the moisture start getting or start blocking these ways. Moisture, that is water, starts getting clogged between the different particles, and now it becomes again difficult for the gases to pass because the way is blocked with the help of water. So that is why after some time it will increase, and then it will again start decreasing with the increase in moisture content. So the maximum amount of moisture that at which the permeability is maximum is 8%. Is 8%. This is a very important result. Very important result and a very important analysis. Why this graph is increasing and decreasing. ठीक है, तो लिखो इसके बारे में एक बहुत ही बढ़िया चीज लिखो. In the molding sand, clay will be in form of powder. In the molding sand, clay will be in form of powder. In the molding sand, clay will be in the form of powder. In the molding sand, clay will be in form of powder. To activate this clay, water is required. To activate the bonding properties, to activate the clay, water is required. Initially, with the addition of water, the clay gets activated. Initially, with the addition of water, the clay gets activated, and the void between the silica sand particle and the void between the silica sand particles and the voids between the silica sand particle will get free. This free space will increase the permeability. This free space will increase the permeability. This free space will increase the permeability. After 8% of moisture approximately, after 8% of moisture approximately, after 8% of moisture approximately, the saturation is achieved. The saturation is achieved. Now adding more water, now adding more water, now adding more water, now adding more water will start blocking the void between silica grains. The void between silica grains. The void between silica grains. And this lead to decrease in permeability again. And this lead to decrease in permeability again. Next property is flowability. Next property is flowability. flowability. The next is flowability. देखो, suppose this is your box, this is your mold box. Suppose this is the shape of the mold box. Now, when you will fill it with sand, this is yellow color is your sand. If you fill it with sand, if the sand is not flowable, it will go to this area and stop. But if it is having the good flowability, it can cover up the entire area. It can cover up the entire volume. So that is why to reaches to the nicks and the corners of the molding sand, to nicks and the corner of the molding sand, flowability is required. So likho, ability of the molding sand ability of the molding sand to move in all corner of the molding box. To move in all corners of the molding box. To move in all corner of the molding box. With the increase in moisture, the flowability increases. With the increase in moisture content, the flowability increases. इसके बाद लिखो फोर्थ स्ट्रेंथ. इसमें भी फर्स्ट इज हॉट स्ट्रेंथ. लिखो पहले सिर्फ स्ट्रेंथ लिखो. टू restrain the shape and size of the mold cavity under the forces applied by the liquid metal. To restrain shape and size of the mold cavity. To restrain shape and size of the mold cavity under the forces applied by the liquid metal. Under the forces applied by the liquid metal on the mold surface. That is why mold must have sufficient strength. Mold must have sufficient strength. Mold must have sufficient strength in all the stages. In all the stages. In all the stages. First stage is green strength. Right. When the liquid is poured into the mold, the mold contains moisture. The mold contains moisture. When the liquid is poured into the mold contains moisture. The mold contains moisture. The mold contains moisture. The strength of the mold when the moisture is present is known as green strength. तो ग्रीन स्ट्रेंथ जहां पर भी आए तो याद रखना मॉइस्चर है इसलिए उसको ग्रीन बोल रहे हैं. तो राइट डाउन ग्रीन, दैट इज नोन एज ग्रीन स्ट्रेंथ. दैट इज नोन एज ग्रीन स्ट्रेंथ. That is known as green strength. इसके बाद देखो when after addition of the hot metal the moisture evaporates. After addition of the hot metal the moisture evaporates. The strength of the mold in this condition is known as dry strength. The strength of the mold in this condition is known as dry strength. The strength of the mold in this condition is known as dry strength. The strength of the mold in this condition is known as dry strength. Hot strength. Hot strength लिखो. The strength of the mold at elevated temperature. The strength of the mold at elevated temperature. The strength of the mold at elevated temperature. The strength of the mold at elevated temperature is known as hot strength. Is known as hot strength. Is known as hot strength. ठीक है, चलिए एक वीडियो देख लीजिए ये आप, बिकॉज आज ही कॉम्बैट चैलेंज है, so I just need to update you. 29 6 p.m. you have combat challenge.
It's time to experience something glorious. Unacademy Combat. Compete, crack, conquer.
A challenging gate contest engineered to give you an experience like none other.
where you put your knowledge to test.
and battle it out with the best.
To bring out the best in you, Unacademy Combat is the most competitive, gamified contest for GATE till date, with the best of the questions by best educators.
With detailed video solutions from top educators right after each contest.
Combat live with peers to get real-time rankings and win big.
Participate in every contest to improve your ratings.
Challenging contests every fortnight or alternate Sunday. Live ranking after every question. Big rewards for top rankers. Your passion to crack GATE deserves this. Your hard work towards your dream deserves this. Fuel your inner fire for the ultimate GATE challenge. Unacademy Combat. Register now. It's time to experience something glorious. Unacademy Combat. Compete, crack, conquer.
A challenging GATE contest engineered to give you an experience like none other.
Where you put your knowledge to test.
and battle it out with the best.
To bring out the best in you, Unacademy Combat is the most competitive, gamified contest for GATE till date, with the best of the questions by best educators.
With detailed video solutions from top educators right after each contest.
Combat live with peers to get real-time rankings and win big.
Participate in every contest to improve your ratings.
Challenging contests every fortnight or alternate Sunday. Live ranking after every question. Big rewards for top rankers. Your passion to crack GATE deserves this. Your hard work towards your dream deserves this. Fuel your inner fire for the ultimate GATE challenge. Unacademy Combat. Register now.
Okay, so I think that you have seen all these videos and you are now ready for the combat challenge. Today is the combat, that is at 6 p.m. you will be getting the questions, and this is combat part 2. Combat part 1 already happened where people won really exciting prizes. ठीक है, चलो. So what we were discussing, the strength wala part we were discussing. चलो. अगला लिखो हार्डनेस। Fifth property required is hardness. Note it down. It is measured as a surface property. It is measured as the surface property. It is measured as the surface property. It is measured as the surface property. It is measured at the surface property and counted as it is the hardness to indentation. ठीक है, इसके बाद देखो अगली प्रॉपर्टी जो चाहिए रहती है ना, हार्डनेस तो ऑब्वियसली आप समझ गए होंगे, कोलैप्सिबिलिटी। Collapsibility is required. Ability of the molding sand, लिखो, ability of the molding sand due to which mold surface will not offer any resistance. Mold surface will not offer any resistance due to the contraction of casting is known as collapsibility. The mold surface will not offer any resistance due to the contraction of casting is known as collapsibility. Is known as collapsibility. Is known as collapsibility. ठीक है, अब देखो जो एडिटिव्स यूज होते हैं ना वो इन प्रॉपर्टीज के लिए यूज होते हैं टू इंक्रीज दीज प्रॉपर्टीज. फॉर एग्जाम्पल सपोज सॉडस्ट इज यूज्ड और wood floor is used. These are additives, but ये काय के लिए यूज होते हैं? They are used to increase permeability and collapsibility. Permeability and collapsibility. Is it clear? Then molasses or dextrin is used. Molasses and dextrin is used to increase the hardness. And finally, Fe2O3 and Al2O3 is used for increasing hot strength. Increasing hot strength. Increasing hot strength. Increasing hot strength. Is it clear to all of you? चलो, so यहां पे हमारा ये वाला पार्ट भी फिनिश अप हो जाता है. From tomorrow we will start with gating system. कल से हम स्टार्ट करेंगे 2:30 PM से गेटिंग सिस्टम. So first two pillars, first two things are over in casting. Tomorrow we will start with gating system and we will also try to cover up riser design. तो दोनों इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें कल हम कवर अप करने की कोशिश करेंगे इन 2:30 PM सेशन. इन 2:30 PM सेशन, ठीक है, इन 2:30 PM सेशन. चलो, so we will wrap it up today. Here is my link to my video, that is, you can see this is my link, that is unacademy.com/@PrakashSrivastava333. You can follow me on this link. This is the, you can say, the telegram channel of our whole team where all the new and the paid initiatives, the free and the paid initiatives are promoted. And this is the Facebook page where you can follow us, that is creatrix.mech. ठीक है, undoubtedly you are seeing the video on this particular channel. but I would recommend that you should see videos from this channel as well. That is Unacademy GATE questions. Unacademy GATE questions से भी आपको questions देखने हैं, आपको चीजें देखनी हैं, because it is relevant and all the necessary and important channels are in front of you. ठीक है? So thank you guys. Let us meet at 8 a.m. tomorrow because I am having 2 sessions tomorrow. One I will try to keep practice session on PI questions. तो कल मैं कास्टिंग के क्वेश्चंस ले लूंगा. Tomorrow I will try to take casting questions only, and normally from 2:30 p.m. you are going to have your YouTube lecture, YouTube crash course. Thank you, all the best. I'm waiting for your response. If you are having any doubt, you let me know. Otherwise, we'll wrap up this session. Thank you, all the best. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye. गेटिंग सिस्टम तक हो गया, गेटिंग सिस्टम के पहले तक हो गया, कल से गेटिंग सिस्टम स्टार्ट करना है. बाय बाय.